Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So the New South Wales Greens Party, the left party, and the party supposedly of women, female empowerment and progressivism, is now looking at taking out the word woman in new laws proposed in Parliament, and they're replacing it with pregnant person. Now these new laws relate to issues where there are unborn children mentioned, and I'll get into the specifics of that in a moment. And I'm going to also show you a few things related to Australian Parliament that shows the hypocrisy of the Greens. So let's take a look at the article from the Daily Telegraph. So here it is, gender ideology claims over New South Wales Greens push to remove women from laws. The New South Wales Greens have attempted to delete the word woman 23 times from new laws protecting unborn babies, sparking outrage at what has been described as a campaign to erase gender. The attempted amendments were eventually shot down, but feminists have raised concerns about an ongoing war against women by the left-wing political party, saying they were destroying the rights of women. So even though the amendments didn't get passed, the left-wing party, the Greens, are still trying to push this radical left agenda, which is trying to eliminate women from the law. So you think just because they got shot down this time, they're not going to reintroduce it later on down the line? Of course they are. Even grassroots Greens feminist members say they are now reconsidering their membership as a result. So you've got even women in the left party of the Greens saying, and who are feminists, who are saying, we're reconsidering our membership. So in the final sitting days of the New South Wales Parliament, Greens MP Abigail Boyd tried to amend the Crimes Legislation Amendment Loss of Fetus Bill by axing every reference to a woman and substituting it with pregnant person. Here's the quote. There are people other than women who have the potential to have a fetus, she said. She also said, the amendment seeks to change woman to person throughout the bill in recognition of trans and other people who have the capacity to become pregnant. Now she told Parliament she had thought an agreement had already been reached among MPs to remove the word women, and it is very disappointing to see this creeping back in again. So she said, I thought we already agreed that we're going to erase women. Sydney lawyer Catherine Devs, co-founder of Save Women's Sport, said the Greens had tried to silence women for standing up for female rights. She says, we should not be erasing women for a very demanding and vocal extremist minority group that want to devalue the importance of biological sex in favor of a personal belief about gender identity. She said. That's her quote there. This woman here, Catherine Devs. She said, these are issues that pertain specifically to women, to the female sex. It appears the Greens are enthralled to gender ideology. The Greens are bending over backwards to erase women from the laws, or the word woman from the law, which effectively erases women, to bow down for a tiny minority of people who may identify as trans. And then you have the Women's Forum Australia Chief Executive Rachel Wong, who said there has been a concerted effort across the board to eliminate women in order to be inclusive of trans or non-binary individuals. But using terms like pregnant person attempts to obscure the immutable biological reality that only women can become pregnant and give birth, she said. Then you also have the feminist legal clinic Anna Kerr, herself a member of the Greens Party, the same party that introduced this, said she was extremely disturbed about the move. She also said, as a long-term member of the New South Wales Greens, I am having to reconsider my ongoing support for the party. So that's the person who is reconsidering her support. Legal clinic and a member of the Greens. Then she says, only women can be pregnant, and efforts to obscure this biological reality by the New South Wales Greens damages more than just their credibility. How far down the line are you going to move and bend over backwards for a tiny minority of the people in the population? And while doing so, you are literally trying to erase the word woman from law. Could you imagine if this was the Liberals, the right-wing government, trying to take out the term woman or women from the legislation? They would be crying sexist, misogynist, anti-female, anti-feminist. But when they do it, it's all right because they're doing it for a good cause, what they believe, because they're doing it for the tiny minority of LGBT people. Now, this is where I'll go into a bit of extra detail. So she also said, I have been actively involved as a human rights lawyer in opposing the introduction of Zoe's Law over many years, and I am also a member of the New South Wales Greens Women's Working Group. And she said she was not consulted about the attempt to delete women. So if she's a member of the New South Wales Greens and she wasn't even consulted, who made this decision? She said Zoe's Law. So this relates to what laws are trying to be imposed at the moment and where they're trying to take out the name woman. Now, Zoe's Law relates to a law that was passed that's imposing harsher penalties for the deaths of unborn children, because this case was there was a drunk driver, had a collision, an accident, and her child died. But there was no law on the books that said it was going to be manslaughter or a murder charge because they didn't consider unborn children actually to be people. So legally now, this is what Zoe's law changes. That now they change the definition of what a human is now to include unborn children. To close out, she says, despite the Greens' commitment to grassroots democracy, I don't think the general membership is aware of the extent of harm being done by extreme trans ideology because all debate on this subject is actively suppressed. They say, don't talk about it. We can't talk about it. We're not supposed to discuss it. Just do what we say. Erase women from the law. Now, it's funny that the same group, the Greens, are for gender equality and empowerment of women and girls. This is their website here, the Greens. Empowerment for women, while you just said you tried to erase the word woman from the law, okay? Now, it's funny that the people who cry sexism, misogyny, and there's not enough feminism going on, and no one's supporting females enough and women enough, well, those same people, the Greens, also have someone, the first female Indigenous senator, Lidia Thorpe, is in Parliament, and she had this to say about another female senator. So that's Lidia Thorpe there. She since retracted the statement, but let's take a look at what she said. So another New South Wales Senator, Hollie Hughes, was talking about one issue, standing up. Lidia Thorpe said, at least I keep my legs shut in the Senate, referring to Hollie Hughes. So you've got a leftist, Greens, Indigenous female senator who's supposed to be on the side of female empowerment, standing up for women's rights, making, I would say, sexist and misogynistic comments, except she's a woman, even though that she has since retracted the statement. Let's just see what she had to say at the time it got called out by a white male.
I obviously did not hear the statement. Senator Thorpe.
I'm happy to retract. I just got a view of something over there that disturbed me, but I'm happy to retract.
I just got a view of something over there that disturbed me. That's ridiculous. So from the same people who want to preach female empowerment and all this progressive stuff, you're the ones that are making these lewd comments. Two women. Funny hypocrisy there. So the ideology of the Greens is on show. They're just hypocritical. Hypocritical. They want to attack women in Senate, in Parliament, meanwhile trying to erase women from laws. That's what we're dealing with in New South Wales, in Australia. And I mean, do you really expect anything else? So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, share this one out, and I'll see you in the next one.